Hello, everyone. This is Enlightened Living's Truth and Oneness discussions with a
Scorpio.
and an Aquarius. All right, so we're doing a video review today. Um, so what was it? What was it? Martin Kinney put out a recent video. I think it's called the Pineal Foundation. Whatever. I'll attach the video to our description box. So basically, they're talking about the whole, virus, vaccines, and Bill Gates sort of. I thought it was an interesting video because it's kind of a different perspective, I think, on some of this stuff, or like just kind of a different, I don't know, way to look at it. It's kind of interesting, and I encourage people to listen to it if they want to just
Change up their narratives.
yeah, change up their narrative. Well, just kind of like see what other people are thinking about it too.
Yeah.
But so I've listened to some of Martin Kinney's stuff. We've done, I think, a video review on his stuff before. There's a lot of the flat Earth stuff or cosmic egg theory, and which is good. Oh, and also origins of humanity sort of thing. And he has it's an interesting perspective on it for the most part, and I think more recently, a lot of his stuff has been more down the, say, fear mongering, but more like the kind of extremist route of things. And so I haven't really listened to too much of his stuff recently. But this video came out, and I was like, oh, this is kind of, let's see what this is. And it's a discussion video. They go over it with their group and talk about these different things. And so yeah, this was an interesting video that I've been kind of waiting to hear. I guess I don't know, but
Yeah, definitely. It's like when you're talking about it, like the different perspective that he has. It's like it gives people an opportunity to kind of like think a little bit more outside the box based on their perspective, because it's like you're getting fed pretty much one idea of like what's going on. If you watch the news or any kind of media source, even like Facebook pretty much just tells you this, but their idea of like what's going on and what's happening and what's going to happen is a little bit different. And when you kind of like think about it, there's a lot of different possibilities. It kind of just depends on where you are and where you want to be, and
at
like,
least that's our viewpoint.
and that's our viewpoint on it.
Yeah. But
So, what do we got first? They start?
Yeah, so the first part of the video, they go over kind of like the DNA strands and kind of how I think they were mentioning how the last 150 years ago, I guess there was like a crossroads where humanity could have gone the route of upgrading their DNA through but being more connected with nature, and the other route was industrialized, sort of the route, and we went the industrial route. And because we went that route, the progress has been slow of upgrading like the DNA from like the 3D frequency to like the 5D frequency. So we're behind on the curve is kind of what their theory is, or their thoughts on it was. And so the first part of the video, like probably the first 20 or 30 minutes of it, he's talking about kind of like the toroidal fields and like the sine wave and like the DNA strands, or how we should have been upgraded to, higher frequency now. But the majority of people aren't because we went the industrial route, kind of that idea. And so all of this is in, and then they get into talking about halfway through the. It's about halfway through the video.
Yeah.
About halfway through the video, roughly. Well, this area where they start talking about the vaccines and the virus and Bill Gates' role in this and whatnot, and kind of what the media is going on. And so, let's see.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because it's like when they're talking about the 150-year mark, where it's like you can clearly see like during that time period all around the world, when you like kind of read about those areas, it went from
What areas?
all over the world, like the UK, the Americas, Africa, all the different continents. It's like during that time, even like China and whatnot, during that time, a lot of people used to be in like villages and had their specialty shops, they added community. Then booming out of nowhere, industry, like hardcore textile factories and everything like that. Like, yeah, over the last 150 years. But that was like the beginning of it. It was back then around the 150-year mark. And it's pretty interesting because that's like, yeah, it does make sense. And then as you can see here, like what's happening present day, a lot of the hardcore industry and like just producing large amounts of stuff from raw materials is slowing down. People are not really accepting that as like a viable, sustainable thing. They use, quote unquote sustainable, but people are starting to change their mindset on like what it is to just like mass produce just because you can mass produce. So that's pretty interesting. So it's like you definitely could see where the shift is starting to go back to like more natural of like at least some people. Some people really enjoy the whole
Well, and I think
industrial
we'll get
world.
into that too here in a minute. So yeah, so they start talking about so his theory, or on the whole vaccines, the whole virus, and Bill Gates thing is that Bill Gates is trying to save a portion of humanity. Who, so we go back to this 150-year mark thing where the people by this time point, and this is leading up to like the, if anyone's ever heard of the plasma event that's supposed to happen December 21st of this year. It's so our bodies should have been prepared in frequency wise to uh, accept that event, I guess you could say. But the majority of people, because we've been more on the industrialized side of things, our frequency is still too low to where we wouldn't be able to survive that event, basically. And so Bill Gates comes in and his people. um, so their idea, Kinney's idea, Pineal Foundation, is that um, Bill Gates is here as like a savior, quote unquote, to protect the people whose frequencies are too low and aren't going to get up to that level by December, to protect these people from dying when this event happens, basically. So through this protection, this is why they need these 5D or 5G, the towers put up in the cities, trying to keep, and all of this, what's going on right now, the whole pandemic thingy plays into it, in that, they're trying to keep people indoors, wearing masks, away from each other, so isolation, and the vaccine is supposed to have something in it to help block the high frequency that's going to be coming in December, and then the 5G tower frequencies are supposed to help block that energy also. So in a sense, or in essence, or I guess in like whatever, it's going to help protect these people from the high frequency that's going to be put off in this earth field basically during that time. And so that was kind of interesting take on things, I guess you could say. Because when we think about it, yeah, I do definitely, I I think the frequency of the Earth is definitely changing, and it may be a sudden event where things go. There's a spike in frequency. I don't know, but like the energy is shifting, and I think it's raising higher potentially. I guess you could say that, and definitely there's a large group of people that are still kind of like not with that part. I feel like you have to be with more nature, accepting of nature, and appreciating nature more to even kind of vibe with that. And there's still a lot of portion of the population that's not really into that sort of thing. So, and if it is such a big portion of the population, and their theory also, or Martin Kinney's theory, is that they're saving these people, and I guess you could look at it any way you want to. Would see it more. They're saving them to, so they have minions,
Servitude.
servants, people. They have sheeple still to use in the future, so all their sheeple don't die off. I guess I don't know. So you want to interject there?
It is pretty interesting because when you think about it, that theory, it's like, hey, like very well could be true. It might not be. When you think about like, if you've seen the show Attack on Titans, that kind of reminds me of like this whole like field or a wall that
Attack on Titans?
Attack on Titans is an animation. It's like it's like these people that live inside of a wall, and they're like afraid of the outside world because there's like monsters or bad things out there. But there's actually people that live out there. But like overall, like everyone lives inside the walls, protected, and they don't venture outside the walls. And like the merchants pretty much like rule and control everything. Everyone kind of just like does their job to support like the upper classes. And like there's multiple walls that go further and further in the inside. Whoever's on the very inner walls are like the super wealthy, and like they pretty much don't have to work and all. It's like it's just interesting because it's like I could see if that was the case, if he was trying to save them, that he's literally looking for serfs, kind of like what you're saying, like servants. And it's like maybe even like
Well, I mean, I think they already have servants. Like, there's like so many people that kind of just go along with
yeah,
the the narrative right now. So they're trying to preserve their servants, pretty
yes,
much.
yeah, they want to keep them a viable source, and it's like if they don't, I'm sure they're gonna come up with some weird like breeding program or something like that. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. I mean, they already do Planned Parenthood and in vitro and stuff already, anyways. So that wouldn't surprise me one bit. Um, and then when you think about like what you're saying, like I can definitely sense that the world's frequency is changing too. It's like for some people it might feel like too much. Maybe I feel like they're like boiling in a pot or whatever. But I feel especially very kind of like free, and like I can think more clearly. I don't get any kind of like issues without being out in nature and outdoors. It's like everything seems very calm and serene. Like going in the city now, it seems very like uncomfortable. It's like it's almost like I can't like handle all of the Wi-Fi, the lights, the energy, like the frictions. Like it's just a little much now. Like before it was like not that big of a deal. Now it's like really kind of pushes me away, and I can't like wait to get away from it.
I think that's another thing they brought up in the video about so after this event, and so this is leading up to the event. So yeah, they're trying to get people vaccinated, get them on with the program with the whole virus thing, because the way that they're training people how to act with this is going to protect them after the event. So even after the event, they're going to keep people kind of like socially distant somewhat, and masks on and all that kind of stuff, because it'll help protect them from like and within the cities too. It'll help protect them from the high frequency of nature. But so after the event, they brought up in the video, um, they talked about kind of what you're saying now, where it's kind of like it's not like we can't stand being in the city, but you definitely can pick up the frequency different, or like the energy difference. It's like kind of you feel it in the air, basically, right? But so they were saying that yeah, they believe so. There's gonna be like the inner city areas where everyone's pretty much on lockdown. Um, these people after the event, so after December 21st, these people that were corralled into the inner cities areas, they because the event has already happened, so nature is at such a high frequency that these people wouldn't even be able to survive out in nature. So they'd have to stay in these inner city areas within these 5G tower areas and whatnot. And almost vice versa too. So there'll be the people like who have been out in nature and have, I guess, regulated their frequency with nature's frequency or whatever, who won't be able to tolerate being within the city. So they may get sick or ill or whatever, and vice versa, basically. And then they also brought up that his theory is also that there might be a third group of people who were in the cities but were still at enough frequency, so where they didn't have to get the vaccine or wear the masks or whatever or anything like that. And so when the event comes, their frequency, they'll survive it, but they'll turn into like mutants or something. They'll be seen as mutants or something like that. And these will be the people that his theory is that they'll be like rounded up and put in FEMA camps or shipped off to islands or something. Like they'll be like the criminal, or like everyone stay away from these people because they're like, toxic or something like that. I don't know. What's your take on that?
It is pretty funny. Like when you think about that, it's like, oh, look, these are the mutants, like X-Men. Except for all they're doing is just surviving. They're not actually doing anything beyond that. And people are like, hey, stay away from them because look, they don't have to wear masks and like they don't have to have like the
They're not
microchip,
dying yet.
and they're not dying. So it's like there's something wrong with them, or like they might be contaminated, like something's up with them. We need to keep them away from us. Let's continue our practice of social distancing. If you see one of those people, please report them as quickly as possible, because
Stay at least 6 feet away from them, because then you won't like get meshed in their frequency and like die or something, right?
yeah, like their energy field is a little too chaotic for you. So please stay away from them.
They
Report
won't
them.
say that.
Yeah, they won't say that. Like they'll just be like, report anyone you see without a mask, because that's what the good thing. That's what smart people do.
Yeah, and
That's what people that are brave do.
yeah, the interesting thing is that you can kind of see how they're kind of training people to that right now, trying to get people on board with like report people, or will you call the police on someone who if they're not wearing their mask or whatever, or report them, or you know, that I see like little surveys just popping up here and there and whatever. And if you go into a store right now and like everyone's wearing a mask and they look at you and you're not wearing one, like they like hit the wall trying to get away from you. You know what I mean? So it's like they're definitely training people to go down this route. I still think there's a lot of individual choice in all this, but I mean, I can see that's potentially a possibility. I don't know. I think it's more of a. I don't know if it's going to be as harsh as what they're describing, but maybe for some people it will be. Like if you are going to be out there drawing attention to yourself that kind of way, that might be how it turns out for you. But I feel like there may be people that they'll be in the city and be able to survive and not be a target for anything and not have to wear a mask and all that. You know what I mean? There'll be crossover, I guess. I think it really depends. I think, but it's an interesting idea or an interesting look. I mean, it's kind of like what we've talked about already, though. We've already done a lot of our like discussions of where everything's going. Like it's almost like you can sense there's going to be some sort of a separation where you have like this completely different world where these people are completely different from like the outside world, where they don't subscribe to the narrative anymore, and like, but it's, I think it can be done in harmony, in like not harmony but like I feel like it can, it's if everything's kind of just falling into place, the pieces are falling where they need to fall, sort of. That's the route that it's set up to be, but you can go at it a different route if you want to, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I could definitely see like how it definitely could be in harmony. Because obviously, when you think about like when this all happens, like they already know like high frequencies and stuff like that kind of like affect plants and wildlife and whatnot. So it's like if they have this barrier area and people are like are almost intolerable of going to a different frequency, like out in nature for say, growing fruits and vegetables and all that stuff like naturally and organically is gonna be difficult. So there's probably gonna be like trade walls or like trade center. You don't think so?
Probably be eating fruits and vegetables. I feel like. Like, what do you mean?
Well, obviously some of the wealthier people are gonna want to. They're not gonna just be like, I'm gonna eat gruel too.
Well,
like,
so what are you talking about?
I'm saying like I see like cause like I could see that if there is something like that, there's a potential like an area where like both sides can meet and be like, hey, I got fresh organic fruits and vegetables. Hey, can you give us some like technology
so, like,
or something like that?
Like, well, I think
Like solar panels or something, because it's like,
I feel like that each group would be almost as completely self-sustainable, to be honest with you. But I mean, obviously, there's still like now we trade between states, goods between states and whatnot. I feel like it's not going to be that much different from that. I don't know.
I don't think it's gonna be that much. It's kind of like just like an invisible wall. Kind of like there's just gonna be like trading posts. Kind of that's what I kind of like potentially see. I don't know, maybe not, but it's like if they gets to the point where it's like it's super intolerable for people to be like outside of their frequency, then obviously they can make a place where like trading. Obviously, the people on both sides can be very self-sustained, but it's like people might want to just still even have like an interaction center or something like that. I don't know. Who knows? You know, that's just my thought on it.
Yeah. So about halfway-ish through the video, they talk about, you know, aligning with your inner guidance, knowing thyself. That's obviously, I think, the most important thing of all of this is that, and what we keep bringing up and talking about is like basically wherever you feel the most peace and like contentment, or if that's not really a word or whatever, that's where you should be. Because some people are, you know, are going to be like, what the heck? Well, you saying we should go get vaccines now, or like, or Um, how do I like survive the event? You know what I mean? In December, but it's like I feel like everything is just kind of just gonna flow where it needs to flow, and like you being where like your inner being knowing, sort of like it's in the sense of peace, knowing that everything's gonna work out the way that it's supposed to, and you're where you're supposed to be, and everything. I don't know. Everything's in. I guess what am I trying to say here?
It definitely, it's like wherever you feel like you should be is where you will be. Like if like you believe like you're completely comfortable and you're very happy or like okay with the situation, like wearing a mask, getting vaccination,
Okay,
getting
so yeah, if you feel comfortable wearing a mask and getting vaccines or whatever, then that's what you should do. If you feel comfortable packing up and leaving the city and going out in nature and camping out in nature, and that's where you feel most comfortable and happy, do that. If you feel like joining a community that's off the grid or whatever, and becoming, if you're not vegetarian already, becoming vegetarian or vegan, but you feel like in your deep in your soul that that's what gives you the most peace of mind and peace in general and happiness and whatever, then that's what you should do. So it's like go toward the place that's going to make you the most peaceful, pretty much, right? And I don't think anyone really can be completely wrong outside of that, though. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's kind of a fine line, though, and we'll talk about that after we get through maybe the video. But yeah, so there's that.
yeah. Definitely, we've talked many times about this, but yeah, people will be where they feel like they're most comfortable. Hopefully, people don't just do it because like they think that they should, but actually like
The thing
go
is out
with
of
where
fear. That's the
yeah,
thing.
out of fear.
But that's the thing though. Like the majority of people that are wearing masks and following the orders are doing it out of fear though. So it's like, how do you? That means they're not being aligned with their highest source. You know what I mean? And so how can that be right? I don't know. So
It's right. It's right for them for their experience for this time. Maybe like later on, they're like, I don't want to do this
but if
anymore.
we're saying that you should be aligned with your highest, maybe through that fear, following orders gives them peace. I guess I don't know.
Well, like some people, they can't handle like making decisions. If they're actually like fully aware of who they were and everything like that, maybe it'd be okay. But at least at this given moment, where they're at, even the fear, quote unquote, for them, they don't feel like they're fearful. A lot of them think that they're completely justified. Like they're not really too worried. They're like, oh, I'm doing this because I think I'm a good person, or I just want. Some people might be fear
because they said do it, so I should be a good citizen. That sort of thing.
I follow the rules. I'm gonna do this because that's what I should be doing. Like, and the thing is, like, that's fine. That's okay. Like, that is right for them.
Yeah.
It's not right for everybody, but it is right for them, and no one really can tell them that they're wrong overall. Because like, even if there's like facts that show that they're wrong, but it's like maybe they can't even see them. That doesn't exist in their reality at this given moment. Like they're right doing what they want to do. So do whatever is right for you, regardless of where it is. Don't just do something because of fear, like what you're saying. Like don't just fall in line because you're afraid. Do what makes you the most comfortable.
Sort of, I guess, because the thing is like, but then I guess you don't really know. It's like
Yeah.
those people I know that just like, I don't want to say from common sense, but if you walk around with a mask on all day long and you stay indoors and don't get fresh air and you eat highly chemicalized foods and you get tons of vaccines, overall that's not going to be good for your health, you know? And so people that go that route, it's like, but how is that the best thing for them? But then at the same time, I guess if you go the route of the beginning of the video where they talked about, a lot of people aren't at that frequency that they need to be at and won't get there, December 21st, so they're going to die if they don't go backwards a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
Then I guess they are doing what they need to be for their health and like livelihood or survival, really, I guess. I don't know. That's interesting. But
yeah, I could definitely see that. It's like a lot of people they don't know what to do. That's why they go to like the medical doctor, the expert. They're like, okay, what do I do now? And they're like, okay, get this vaccine. They're like, okay, well, what do I do now? And they're like, okay, now put on your mask.
There's a frequency thing.
Yeah, it's a frequency. It meshes with them. They're okay with this
because they know. say if
deep
this
down that
theory,
this is what they need
well,
to
if this
survive.
theory is correct, then deep down they know that that's the route they need to go to survive the event in December, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
They're kind of
guess
like that.
makes sense.
Exactly. All right. So what else happens next?
So they did bring up at one point. So yeah, there's from I guess the 3D, 4D to the 5 dimension Earth or frequency Earth, and then they briefly talked about 6D, which is the Eden Garden of Eden. Which, if anyone listens to Martin Kinney a lot, he talks a lot about the Eden, getting to Eden, and he's talking about how they basically have to be at an even higher frequency to get there, and they're going to prepare themselves for that for December. My take on that, like, I feel like Eden is what, like, I feel like you can make Eden wherever you are. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not a place that you need to, like, definitely different dimensional realm, but depending on where you are already, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's not something it needs to be that calculated. I guess it's like again, it's like a one of those things that's just gonna fall into place for, and you make your own Eden in a way. I don't know.
Well, for me, it's like, as you were saying, you can make Eden anywhere. That's the whole concept. It's like a Garden of Eden. It's like, it's not like, okay, I need to do this, 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 and this. It's like you can start your Garden of Eden at your home, inside your mind, inside your vibrations, inside of who you are. It's like okay, before people were saying like, you know what, 4D, that's where Eden is. We're gonna get there. We get to 4D. Okay, 5D. No. 5D. I need to prepare. And when we get to 5D, this event's happening, coming up. I need to get there. And then 5D comes and they're like, okay, no. I'm gonna prepare for 6D. It's like everything is always like, I have to keep going. I have to keep looking. It's like, but it's, you can make it right where you're at. Like you can,
Living in the
it's
moment
there.
sort of thing.
It's like, yeah, it's like always looking to the future, like, or like looking to a new place. The grass is greener. Like everything is better later on. It's like start where you're at. It's already available. Like just start working towards it. It's like you don't have to like do all the preparation and be like, okay, I'm going to the North Pole, everybody. That's where Eden is.
Well, it's like I feel like, yeah, if you're consciously aware of that kind of thing, it's like things will, the everything will fall into place to, like it takes time to sit down and decide I want to build a garden or whatever. You have to first, prepare the soil or help the soil be prepared, get the seeds and plant the seeds. You know what I mean? It takes time, but you enjoy the process of it, and you know that's where it's headed. And it's not like super. It doesn't have to be super like stressful. Like we need to prepare for this. It's just kind of like this is an enjoyable process, and this is where it's going. Whatever. I don't know, something along those. But I guess if you listen to the video, his video, you can kind of see. Hey, that's kind of my take on that part of that.
I agree with that.
And then about an hour and 30 minutes into their video, they bring up Tesla and the Ark of the Covenant. Let's see. They're just going more into discussion. So the meat of the whole video is probably over about that time, an hour and 30 minutes, and they kind of just go into discussing the questions and answers. But they did bring up Tesla, the Ark of the Covenant, and kind of and how to connect with nature. Like if you're trying to raise your frequency right now, good ways to connect with nature. And one of the speakers on there, Robin, I forgot her last name was talking about how going out, just sitting with a tree. If you have pets, just kind of sitting with your pets, or planting a garden, or planting a seed and kind of just taking care of that tree as it grows. Because the plants and the animals are much more intertwined with this whole nature frequency thingy than we are, and just kind of connecting with them will help us to connect also with the nature and all that kind of stuff. You know anything about the Ark of the Covenant thing? I don't remember.
I've never heard of it.
Okay, so they talk. I think they brought up Tesla because they're talking about Tesla technology coming back and using that to like. And I feel like we're gonna, as far as our energy, like our energy system that we use right now, the electrical system, is going to change to where I think it's going to be more how Tesla was doing things like the free energy and all that kind of stuff, more in balance with nature and whatnot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because like even like when you look around like some of the institutes of technology across this country in the U.S., they've actually put up Tesla towers on top of some of these buildings. It's like why would they do that? Like people think, oh, it's just for show. It's like I don't think it's just for show. I think it's they're preparing for like free energy to be available to be collected because yeah, it's like that's been they've did it. I think it's been since 5 years too. It's not like something they did a long time ago. It's like a new thing that they've been accomplishing, and definitely with the Earth changing its frequency, there's gonna be ways to cultivate it into energy without having to, you know, build dams or do nuclear fusion or anything like that. It's like there's gonna be ways to just collect it and utilize it and send it back out without having to do too much extra work. Like right now, it's like there's a lot of work to create energy when energy is actually there, but it's like kind of like trace amount kind of a thing. It's like you have to like figure out how to cultivate it. It's gonna be just available instead of like having to figure out like too many ways to like collect it and harbor it. It's gonna be more of a common thing, kind of like how people started transitioning over to solar energy. There's gonna be probably new ways to collect energy without having to like, okay, I just need to wait for the sun. There's gonna be like, there's gonna be energy just all the time, so people are gonna be able to just use it.
Yeah, that's interesting. We'll see, right?
Yeah.
But and then about an hour and 45 minutes into the discussion, they were talking about how they got a download, which was it was like government is God or God is government, something like that, and they were trying to figure out what that meant. And then they realized it had something to do with the Project Looking Glass, which I guess people need to look this up because I don't know what it is either. But it's some kind of like I guess that they say that this the government's way of controlling quote unquote the population of people over the last 100 years or whatever. I don't know. Through like a computer system hooked up to like Mother Nature or like Source or something like that. You have to go listen to it. I might be mingling kind of what they were talking about, but basically what they're saying here is that the government has been sort of like the translator of like God or Gaia, Mother Earth, the source energy to humanity over the last 150 years because our energy has our frequency has been so low, we haven't been able to connect on our own as humanity as a whole. There's been obviously people here and there who have been able to, but like as a whole, has not been able. Humanity has not been able to because of our low frequency. Because we went the industrial route, right? And so this whole Project Looking Glass thing has been like the government's way of getting information because the Earth communicates with us constantly, but we can't hear it, and they can't communicate directly with us because of, like I said, the issues. So the Project Looking Glass is the government taking the information from Earth energy field, whatever source, whatever you want to call it, and translating it and giving it back to the public to kind of lead us, sort of, I guess. And they said this is how they've been able to kind of control or manage or whatever, however you want to put society over the last 150 years. And then this all ended in 2012, and this is the whole ties into the whole Mayan calendar thing or whatnot. But basically, at that point was when Mother Earth, Source, or whatever, cut off this whole communication with the government and started communicating directly with humanity again because the general frequency of humanity had raised to a point where it could do that again. And so the government starts freaking out because they're like, oh, our computer system setup thing is not working anymore. Because the way they say it is that they would put it, anytime they put it some sort of question answer out pretty much, like it was malfunctioning, it wouldn't work anymore. So they didn't know how to lead society. And so in that sense, you can see how there's been a lot of like replaying of certain events, it seems like, or like a lot of narratives seem to be kind of playing over again because they're trying to figure out how to control society or like get us moving in a certain direction or whatever, and they can't figure it out because they have no guidance from Gaia or God or whatever. So that's kind of that was kind of interesting. um, concept. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
It is a pretty interesting one because you can definitely see like how people transition for like almost like an ultimate belief in government and what they're saying and doing. So now it's kind of almost like a joke. People like don't believe it. They don't listen to it. I mean, there's people like the ones that are like comfortable with their little mask wearing and everything like that. But ultimately, even when they say they don't believe what they're saying, they still do it. They just
Well,
follow
I guess
along
the
anyways.
important thing is that there's a good enough amount as far as percentage of the human population that are, yeah, not into that anymore. That they their frequency, I guess you could say, is high enough to where they can actually get downloads directly from source energy instead of having to go through the government
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a good amount of people that you can see it all over like the internet. That there's a lot more people like connecting with Mother Nature, connecting with the world, like wanting to be outdoors, wanting to do things like way more than there used to be. So it's like you can definitely see, and it's like almost like a calling. It's not like they just like, oh, I'm like a forest ranger. No, it's like they're like, I quit my job in the tech field and I got an RV and now I boondock all the time. Right? I've been foraging for like 3 years now. Like this is how I eat, survive, and live on the land, and I just like this is what I do. I don't know why, I just do it.
And that, yeah, another interesting thing they mentioned there was that, like, because the government doesn't have their computer system or whatever hooked up with the source energy anymore, and they've been seeing that humanity has been being able to get direct downloads. That's kind of why also the like security, spying sort of on the citizens has kind of increased because they're trying to play catch up by following us and trying to figure out in reverse like what's going on because they don't know what's going on. That's what their theory is.
It's pretty interesting when you think about that too, because it's like it's like you could have like Patriot Act, all these different like where they can like tap into anyone's cell phone anytime, give like emails and all this like data sharing of all kinds. Like they're trying to see what people are doing, like hardcore. Like this kind of thing was like rare when some company like lost people's information. That happens all the time, constantly. Like Facebook's already done it like 6 times. Like, oops, sorry, I shared all your guys' information, personal information everywhere. Sorry about that. It's like because they're like trying to develop patterns to see like what
So
people are doing.
you
Yeah, it's
think
like
you believe it? You believe what they said?
I can definitely. It's like either they're trying to just sell stuff to people, or they're definitely trying to figure out like what's going on because like because it's like it's not like they're taking this information and they're like, oh, we gotta lock these people up. No, it's like they're taking these things up and trying to develop like what kind of trends people are following, or like what they're doing.
Because they can't. But is that just for money making stuff?
I don't think so because it's like when you think about this too, there's been more places popping up with like natural ingredients, organics, cheaper, sustainable. Like they're trying to. There's more of these things popping. Even like Walmart is starting to like do that kind of stuff, which has been a company known not to be like a sustainable or organic thing. It's like they're seeing that this is where the world is shifting, and then they're shifting with it. Trying to. And it's not because of just sales, because like ultimately like there's not tons of people buying organic or like natural or anything like that, but they're seeing how it's changing. They're trying to like go along, like trying to understand it, so they can kind of like go with it. They've lost ultimate control. Now they're trying to figure out like what's going on. Like they're trying to
So you're saying
understand.
you can see how this is.
I can
this
see how it's plausible at least.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess that is kind of interesting. And then the last part of it, around 2 hour mark roughly, they talk about being sovereign or having your own sovereign energy field basically around you. Where is this all going for each like individual and on a larger scale? Because they talk about the people who, you know, are more kind of like us, where we're like, we don't really want to wear a mask and deal with any of that kind of stuff. We just want to like do our own thing and not be bothered really. And they talk about kind of how, what was I saying before? You can, if you're sovereign and you're basically have your energy field build up to, you're sure in who you are pretty much, knowing thyself, and you're sure and peaceful in that state, then not anyone's really going to bother you anyway. Yeah. So it's like kind of.
It's a pretty interesting way that they kind of were ending it, because like it is kind of like that. It's like literally it's like where you feel comfortable. It's like if you're like one of those natural people, like the other people don't really affect you it's like it's not even like a thing. It's like
yeah.
unless you want them to, or you're afraid, or it's like then it starts to like change your frequency. Then they start to match, or like you become visible to them again, or to other people. Because it's like that's the thing. It's like even on the other side, like people are wearing masks. Like if they're like, I don't want to do this anymore, their frequency starts to change, and you might be able to see them or interact with them. It's like things will. It's like depending on where you are is who you'll interact with, or like what kind of rules or things kind of like affect you.
Yeah, I mean, I know one of the people brought up in there that they're like, yeah, they're so sovereign or sure in what they want to do and where they want to be that if like they came up with forced vaccines and like you need to get a vaccine right now, they're just like, sure, you need a vaccine because they know it's not going to affect them or anything. But then like the other person brought up that, well, you know, it would be more, at least from their perspective, it'd be more like if you don't want the vaccine, no one's going to bother you about getting it, even if it's a mandatory vaccine. You know what I don't know if
Yeah,
that makes sense. It's kind of
absolutely.
like, and I kind of go along with that route. It's like literally, if it's something that you've already decided it's not going to be in your energy field or in your reality, then it's, and you're strong enough, I guess, in that whatever, then that's
Yeah.
that's how it's going to be, and no one can really um, penetrate to that energy field. I guess, like kind of like right now, where like because people have been like saying for a while that yeah, there's going to be like civil war and people getting killed and whatever in cities and stuff like that, and that's kind of what's happening right now in the big cities with the Antifa, Black Lives Matter movements in these bigger cities. There's lots of riots and people getting killed and stuff, actual like issues that are happening, and it's sort of like if you were the person that was like, this is what's going to happen, this is what I'm going to experience, you would probably be there experiencing that. If you were someone that's like, no, I think everything's peaceful, I don't really see how that is like a thing, really. Like, why does it have to be like a war? Then you would not. You if you never turn on your TV, you wouldn't even know what was happening. If you were like living out in a countryside or something, you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's like literally all of this goes back to where you want to be, like, and where you strongly feel like how you want your reality to not even like want, because there's certain things in your experience that you probably need to experience in your reality to learn and grow, but it doesn't have to be all about, it can be for the most part in some way how you, what you want to experience, sort of. I don't know if that doesn't really make sense, but um you have a little bit of control over, I think more than a little bit of control over like what your, how your reality plays out. So
Yeah.
where you want to be, you will be for the most part, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Like you were saying, it's like the person that followed up with that. Oh, it's like a vaccine versus not. Obviously, it's like if you don't want it, it's never going to be an option. Like people aren't going to force it upon you or anything like that. But yeah.
But if you leave it allowed into your consciousness, sort of, that oh my gosh, they might force a vaccine on me, or then it becomes a real potential, and you might actually come up with that. Kind of, sort of like that, I guess, right?
Yeah, like manifesting your own reality. We've talked about that a lot. Like it's like depending on your experience, depending on what you want, that you have a lot of control on like how all of this plays out. Yeah. So a lot more than people think.
I was gonna say. So what do you think about this whole, all this, the whole, especially the whole Bill Gates and like, yeah, because they were also mentioning that. So yeah, Bill Gates is one of the people that are trying to step in and save parts of humanity. He thinks that Donald Trump is more like on the middle zone, where it's like you can pretty much choose where you want to go, giving people the option, kind of letting nature take its course, sort of thing. That's why he's not like necessarily forcing, saying yes or no hardcore about anything. And Bill Gates is more like, let's push these vaccines and whatever, blah blah blah. So, like I said, it's an interesting take on things for sure. Um, Interesting way to look at things.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty interesting. It's definitely, as you're saying, like it's a different kind of like view of like what's going on. And it's like, I mean, it could be very real, could be not even
Well, it'll
true
be
at all
real
if you want it to
if you
be.
want it to be.
Yeah, it's like it can be word for word what's happening, like, and that's what you experience, or it could be like completely different. It's all based on what you want and what you want to experience. Like it's all on us. Gotta figure it out.
Or I guess I don't know. What do you think about the whole December 21st event thing? Like
I don't know, because it's like, okay, like, so you guys are matching numbers again. Like, oh, look, it's 12/21 and 2020. Cool. All right. Like, we'll see. I don't know. They said there's like all these events that keep happening. It's like, okay, Y2K. Okay. There's this now. Okay. There's this now. Okay.
well, I mean, the event could be
I'll wait.
nothing.
It could be like literally nothing, or it could be like something.
Like
I don't know.
we could say there was an event this past month, and like where we had like 3 eclipses, over a span of like a month. Um,
Yeah.
and they're all powerful like placements in the cosmos. It's like that was an event right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like I feel like it's not.
Don't hold your breath for an event.
Yeah, it's probably not best to do that, but definitely, again, like what we keep saying, do what you feel put you at the most peace, kind of what most peace of mind. I feel like everything's gonna turn out just fine. I would say as far as the minions, saving the minions, or whatever. I feel like I keep saying that wearing a mask and all your whole day or whatever. Like this is like a not compatible with like life sort of lifestyle. And so I would say that even if they do get a big group of people to continue following along with this, and then staying within the city and but with these towers and wearing their mask and getting their vaccines or whatever, even if say this theory is kind of where they're going or whatever, it's not I don't it's not sustainable
Practice.
it's not sustainable lifestyle really, so it may go on for like a generation or two, but I don't really see it going much past that.
No.
Because our human bodies are not really made to be under such like restrictions. You already see that with how already people that eat really trashy food and stay inside or on their butts most of the day indoors usually something, but like the society is set to like keep people indoors and not out moving and in nature, and then you can see the side effects of that. And even like the vaccines now, if you give over vaccinating like little kids, there's side effects to this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, where really is the truth? I mean, I don't know. Like, sure, maybe these things could help protect people from really high frequency energy wave that comes in.
Come crashing down.
Yeah, I don't see how in the long run, even really in the short run, it's gonna be very helpful. So I don't know. Yeah. It's an interesting theory, but just based off where humanity has already headed with all this artificial chemicals and vaccines and all that stuff, those portions of humanity, like this is why we have cancer and diabetes and obesity and all these autoimmune diseases is from this stuff. So it's like I don't know,
Yeah.
You can see kind of the results of it. So it's kind of like, whatever. I don't.
Well, it's funny because it's like if you think about 5G towers, like bombarding people to protect them. 4G for me, if I'm around it too much, gives me erectile dysfunction. So it's like, so they're not even gonna build out kids and stuff. So it's gonna, it's like, this isn't working like we were hoping. Like everyone can't get it up. All the eggs are like pretty much gone to shit. So in vitro, oh no, that's not working. It's like they're just gonna, so it's just gonna start falling apart really quickly. Yeah, like you're saying, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, funny in a what do you call it? Funny in a sad way, everyone. I'm just kidding. But no, it's like, it's just interesting. It's an interesting perspective, but I can also see like how, okay, so maybe in the short run, they may be protecting these people from this high frequency energy wave, but I don't see how it's gonna last that long. But I don't know. We'll see. We will see where things move to or toward. plan as we kind of. Do you have anything else you want to add to this discussion?
No, we talked about quite a bit of it. It's a pretty interesting topic. I definitely think people should look at it or like different things such as similar or whatever. Yeah, keep it on. It's like it's like because
or if you already know where your mind is and you already know. I mean, we're kind of like I guess my take on it is I kind of feel like I already know sort of like, and this has only happened really in the last like 6 months, maybe to a year to 6 months, where I feel like I know what we're being guided to do on some level, and like everything is like cool. It's just so cool. Like everything's good, and everything's gonna turn out just awesome. Enjoy the journey, really, in the moment, and um, so for now it's just nice looking at other people's perspectives and different ideas that people have about what's going on right now and kind of putting it together and like thinking about it a little bit more. Like that's an interesting perspective. So it's just for me, it's not. And also, if it seems like something that might maybe enlighten other people in a different direction or open up their mind a little bit more to the subject, it's cool to talk about. I guess I don't know.
yeah, it is pretty interesting. It's like it. Yeah, we definitely are doing our thing and like we're having fun. We're enjoying ourselves. It's like it's just that's where everyone should try to be in a place where you're like that and not just like oh my gosh everything is doomed. Try to be in a place where you enjoy your life.
Yeah.
And it's like if this video or their video or someone else's brings you to that place or like gives you some spark to go to that place of happiness, don't fight it because you feel like you have to fight. Fighting never gets you anywhere. Go with the flow. Go with what is best. And
Or if
it'll
you want
just
the easy way out,
yeah.
you can fight. That might be what you want. You may want to fight it out. You know, I don't know. It's like it's almost like I just feel like where each person is, you have to like respect where everyone is at this point.
Yeah.
Like hardcore, like just be like okay. Like I think we were talking before in some of our earlier videos, it does get a little bit like, what in the world are these people doing? All the mask wearing and all that kind of stuff, but it's like you kind of just have to go with it. You can't force people to do things, and they might be doing what's best for them, and that might be taking a different route than. But obviously, we'd recommend the route of enjoying, because why not enjoy what's going on, what's happening? Why not enjoy existence unfolding in front of your face, right? And add some of your creative manifesting powers into it, because that is ultimately what we are. We are creators, we're manifestors. We just have to, you know, do it, right? Right.
Yeah, definitely. None of that about wraps it up. Anything you like to add on this?
That's it. Like I said, the video will be in the description box, and the video to Martin Kinney Pineal Foundation, I believe it's called. Their video will be in the description box, so people can go look at that also. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right.